Lost at sea 1 year later. This weekend marks 1 year since an off-duty Jacksonville firefighter and his friend were lost at sea. It's a story that gripped our community for weeks, months. People are still talking about it now. Heather Crawford joining us live tonight from Port Canaveral, where the men went fishing and never returned. And Heather, I saw on your Twitter, and I can see behind you now, that people are gathering there today to remember them.
That is exactly right, Anthony. And you know, I've been talking to Brian McCluney's wife, Stephanie McCluney, and she told me this weekend really is bittersweet. You know, she has been dreading this week, marking 1 year since her husband vanished, but at the same time looking forward to gathering together. You can see all the people behind us. Brian McCluney's friends and family coming together here tonight at the beach at Jetty Park in Port Canaveral to paddle out into the water where he and his friend were last seen a year ago. They're coming together to remember the two firefighters, to place flowers in the water, to pray together, and to share memories of them. Now, McCluney and Virginia firefighter Justin Walker put their small boat in the water near here at Port Canaveral and went out for a day of fishing, but they never returned home. And that sparked a massive search that spanned from Central Florida to New England with the Coast Guard, Jacksonville Fire Rescue, and hundreds of volunteers in their own boats and planes. The only sign ever found of the men was Brian McCluney's small tackle bag, discovered floating in the water off the coast of St. Augustine a few days after they went missing. Now, other than that, there have been no clues as to what happened to these two beloved firefighters. Stephanie told me that her faith in God really is what has gotten her through this past year. Take a listen.
Not having answers to so many questions. I don't need the answers because it's protection. I'm viewing it as protection. I can't bear the weight. He can. So let him take it. I mean, that's my biggest thing. Like we don't have to have the answers. We don't need them. We just need trust that he's got it.
Now, the Jacksonville Fire Rescue family has really taken Stephanie and her two young children under their wings through this all. And I had a chance to talk with Fire Chief Keith Powers, and he told me that she really has been a huge support for the firefighters as well.
She had this made for me, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a leather Bible that's got the JFRD emblem on it and my name at the bottom. And she wrote a very special note, which I don't want to get into inside it, but that's just how she is. I mean, she's taking care of me when I should be taking care of her.
Her faith just simply is remarkable. And so tonight on First Coast News at 11, Stephanie McCluney opens up about what this past year has really been like for her and for her 7-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter. And now out here live in Port Canaveral, you can see about 50 people. We're going to be gathering here tonight. You may be able to see those two crosses behind me, 3 crosses actually, a memorial for these missing firefighters. Back in Jacksonville, over at McCluney's fire station on the west side, Fire Station 31, everything still sits in his locker exactly as he left them 1 year ago. His district chief, Patrick Goen, says if you come back in 10 years, it will still be there, untouched. He says everyone at the station has dealt with McCluney's disappearance differently, some accepting it before others.
He brought joy to a lot of people's lives here, and and his legacy will always live on. As long as there's fire trucks coming out of this fire station, his name will be on the engine, and he'll be talked about.
And so coming up tonight at 6, he talks about how McCluney would have handled the other challenges this year has brought, a lot of challenges like COVID-19. We'll have another live report here in Port Canaveral coming up on First Coast News at 5:30. You can see everyone getting ready to get into the water to paddle out to remember these two missing firefighters who disappeared 1 year ago this weekend. We're live tonight in Port Canaveral. Heather Crawford, First Coast News, on your side.
Well, this weekend marks 1 year since Jacksonville firefighter Brian McCluney and his friend Justin Walker were lost at sea. Right now, a memorial is taking place in Port Canaveral, and our Heather Crawford is joining us live from there. And Heather, I saw earlier, and I can see right now behind you, a lot of people gathering to remember them.
A special day here on the beach at Jetty Park in Port Canaveral, Anthony. You know, 1 year ago this weekend, we were here in Port Canaveral as family and friends gathered, just praying that those missing firefighters would be found alive. The search was just getting underway, and unfortunately, they were never found. But Back here now, a year later, Brian McCluney's family and friends are gathering. You can see them behind me. They just a few minutes ago paddled out into the rough ocean to place flowers in memory of McCluney and Justin Walker, who left from this area on a small boat for a day of fishing last August and never returned. Now, the family and friends that are here today put flowers in the water. They came together to pray and remember these two firefighters who have touched so many lives. The search to find them was extensive. It spanned 6 days as hundreds of people searched by boats and planes from Central Florida to New England. Now, the only sign ever found of them was a few days later. Brian's small tackle bag was discovered about 50 miles off the coast of St. Augustine. Here we are now, a year later, and Brian's wife, Stephanie McCluney, still does not know what happened to her husband and his friend, and she told me she's okay with that. And she is now trying to turn her pain into purpose.
I really want to give back and really want people to know everyone experiences loss. There's no loss is loss, and it's hard and it's dark. Everyone experiences darkness, valleys. Sometimes you got to stand in it, and you just have to be in the darkness in order to let that light kind of illuminate and come through, and that there's purpose for it.
And you can see the crosses out here live on the beach at Jetty Park in Port Canaveral. Stephanie told me her faith really is what got her through this past year. Those crosses appeared at the scene where searchers started looking for these two missing firefighters a year ago, and they were brought back out here today for this memorial paddle out event. Now, back in Jacksonville at McCluney's fire station on the west side, Fire Station 31, everything still sits in his locker exactly how he left it 1 year ago. His chief, Patrick Goen, says if you come back in 10 years, it will still be there, all untouched. And in the midst of other challenges this year, like COVID-19, he says they think often about how McCluney would react by taking the high road. Over the past year, though, Goen says everyone's dealt with McCluney's disappearance differently.
You know, you could tell that some of the guys really took it hard, and they weren't going to accept that Brian wasn't coming back, and it took a long time. When somebody like that's missing and you can't, it's out of your control. You know, you're doing everything you can to help, and it's not doing any good. You know, we're used to solving problems, and we couldn't solve that problem no matter how hard we tried.
So 1 year later, here we are back in Port Canaveral, where Brian McCluney's family and friends are gathering for this paddle out event that just wrapped up a few minutes ago. Now they're just coming together just to cherish the memories of McCluney and Walker, two firefighters who went out fishing a year ago and never returned. Now, coming up tonight on First Coast News at 11, Stephanie McCluney opens up about how this past year's been and the impact it's had on her two small children. We'll have that story for you at 11. Live in Port Canaveral tonight, Heather Crawford, First Coast News on your